Total Super Series 97 has been firmly established as a formula that provides spectacular action close to the spectators, and the crowd that turned up for the final round of the series was not disappointed at all. We pick up the action on lap 3 of the second heat of the Super Truck, Super Special and Production Vehicle category, with Paolo Piazzamuso in the Creepy Crawly Ford Courier leading Kasi Coetzee in the dealer team Toyota Hilux. Just behind them is Bucks Carolyn in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth leading the Super Special category. Piazzamuso's bad luck of the previous meeting has continued, the Midrand-based driver picking up a puncture in Heat 1. Although he had an unassailable lead in the championship coming into round 7, the team have been somewhat dejected following a series of mechanical failures. The Super Trucks, Super Specials and Production Vehicles were running in the same race due to small fields, and in the production category, reigning champion Henry Zermatten in his Chev was leading. Meanwhile, Piazzamuso was opening up a substantial gap over Coetzee, who was involved in a ding-dong battle with Carolyn, leading the Super Special category. But things were going wrong for Piazzamuso once again. Driving the Creepy Crawly Ford Courier prepared for his brother Claudio because of engine troubles of his own, another puncture was developing in his left rear tyre, and Coetzee was closing quickly. Frantically gesticulating to his pit crew, Piazzamuso knew that he wouldn't be able to hold off Coetzee much longer. No rear-wheel driven vehicle can keep on handling well with a flat rear tyre, and with Coetzee closing rapidly and Richard Leake in the Castrol Toyota Hilux on his line, Piazzamuso didn't even try to defend his position. Through the left-hander at the bottom of the circuit, and Piazzamuso was desperately trying to hold on, but the grip on his left rear wheel was non-existent. The rapidly disintegrating tyre was destroying the Creepy Crawly Ford's bodywork, and Piazzamuso had his hands full to try and control the vehicle. All of this allowed Bucks Carolyn in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth to move into second position overall, still leading the Super Special category, and he wasn't that far behind Coetzee's dealer team Toyota Hilux either. Coetzee was tapping off to ensure that he held onto his lead. Carolyn, meanwhile, was enjoying mixing it with the Super Trucks. He's been having a problem with electrics recently, but those seem to have been solved. Defending champion Wolf-Peter Fumfey had a problem in Heat 2, following a second position in Heat 1, while Henry Zermatten, leading the production vehicles in his Chev, was having an almighty dice with Max Moore in his WPP Footloose, who was second in the Super Specials behind Carolyn. So the disappointing day continued for Paolo Piazzamuso and the Creepy Crawly Ford Courier team, while a second victory for the day was beckoning for Kasi Coetzee and the dealer team Toyota Hilux crew. Coetzee took it, while Piazzamuso completed enough laps to be classified second. In the production vehicles, Zermatten triumphed, while Carolyn won easily in the Super Specials.
Paolo, you've now won the championship. How do you feel?
I feel very happy. I'm glad for the Ford Creepy Crawly Courier team that we won the championship. It's never easy to win a championship, but we're very delighted about it.
In the 200cc motorcycle category, Elna Fox Kawasaki rider Freddie Fourie had already won the 2 qualifying heats and was determined to seal the championship with another victory. But it wasn't going to be that easy if Peter Wrigglesworth on his Yamaha had anything to say about it. Piet Pienaar on his Honda slotted into third position ahead of Brett Gray on another Elna Fox Kawasaki. Wrigglesworth finished second to Fourie in both the qualifying heats and was in a determined mood. But Pienaar dropped out of the top 4 when he overcooked it at the bottom of the circuit. Now Wrigglesworth was opening a gap over championship contenders Fourie and Gray. This had all the makings of a classic battle as Wrigglesworth was trying to extend his lead, while Fourie was shaking off the rest of the field and starting to haul in the Yamaha rider. Brett Gray was keeping a close eye on proceedings. Round the left-hander and downhill towards the bottom of the circuit, and these 3 riders were pulling away from the rest of the field. Gray, who was trailing Fourie in the championship, was desperately trying to stay in touch. The 2 Elna Fox Kawasaki riders had been dominating all season, and this was their last opportunity to put a seal on that performance. Mark Opitz on his Honda was having the best race of his season, but he was being put under heavy pressure by Bevan Nell, also with his best performance of the year on another Honda. Wrigglesworth, Yamaha, then Furry, Elna Fox Kawasaki, and Gray, also Elna Fox Kawasaki. And in the background, the battle for fourth. Opitz, Honda, Nel, Honda, Grant Hugo, Kawasaki, and reigning champion Petrus van Vuren, Elna Fox Kawasaki. Mark Opitz was a revelation as he pulled away from the rest of that group and is definitely someone to watch out for in the future. The crowd were loving the close battle for the lead, and 5 laps into the race, Furry was hot on the heels of Peter Wrigglesworth. Through the chicane, and Furry pounced as Wrigglesworth lost a fraction of a second, diving to the inside of the left-hander, and the Elna Fox Kawasaki rider had the lead. No prisoners are taken in this form of racing, and Wrigglesworth was holding on, putting pressure on the leader. These two were pulling away from Brett Gray corner by corner. Behind them, the battle for fourth had taken some casualties, and Opitz and Van Vuren were the only 2 combatants left. Nel was dropping back, and a 3-way battle had developed for sixth between Nel, Hugo, and Roscoe Mikes on his Honda. While these 3 had their hands full with each other, Piet Pienaar was closing in after the tumble he took earlier in the race. Back to the leaders, and Peter Wrigglesworth on his Yamaha was slowly losing touch with Freddie Furry on his Elna Fox Kawasaki. But this was where the interest lay. Hugo going around the outside, and Opitz is down. He lost 3 places as Hugo, Nel and Mikes go past. Opitz is down to 8th. Furry still in the front and on his way to a 3rd victory for the day. Wrigglesworth desperately holding on and hoping for a mistake by the leader and soon to be crowned champion. But look at this, a hectic scramble further down the field. Hugo in 5th, then Nel and Piet Pienaar slicing through the field. He takes Nel, and now Hugo will soon see the wrath of a man possessed. Van Vuren still 4th, but behind him Pienaar is rapidly closing in on Grant Hugo, Kawasaki defending against Honda. Pienaar is an experienced motocross rider and is not afraid to go for the smallest gaps. Pressure often creates these gaps, and that was the strategy the Honda rider was adopting. And it works. Just a small little slide by Hugo, and Pienaar pulls up beside him. Pienaar has the speed on the run to the right-hander, and yes, around the outside. What a ride. But Grant Hugo could feel very satisfied with his performance in the race. But nobody had an answer for the flying Freddie Furry on his Elna Fox Kawasaki, who took his 3rd victory of the day and clinched the championship. Pienaar continued with his storming ride and pushed Van Vuren down to 5th, while Hugo, Opitz and Fick saw the results of some great rides.
Thank you very much. My start wasn't too good. I battled a bit getting past Peter. I was just more worried about Brett behind me. I don't know where he was. I just passed Peter and tried my best. I pulled a little gap, and that's where I stayed.
That's the championship, of course, as well.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. I'm really chuffed. I worked hard. First round I had a bit of bad luck, but I worked hard and I got it finally.
To the 4-wheelers now, and in the Pro Quad category, young Brandon Martin got the measure of the more experienced riders, winning the first heat and finishing 6th in the second. Jacques Struig, 2nd in the championship in his Jojo Tanks Honda, was having a good day too, finishing 2nd and 1st in the 2 heats respectively. Martin, on his Yamaha Banshee, was determined to repeat his performance of the first heat, but he had Struig, Mark Breckel on another Yamaha Banshee, and championship leader Christo van der Merwe on his Johannesburg Yamaha Banshee breathing down his neck. These are modified machines, mostly with 350cc engines, and one can clearly see the negative camber on some of the front wheels to improve handling through the corners. Martin was pulling away as the rest of the field desperately tried to stay in touch. A good start is often the key. While Martin had relatively few things to worry about, Struig still had a very persistent Mark Breckel on his tail, with Van der Merwe still in the picture and Paul Breckel hovering around in the background. Van der Merwe had a comfortable 72-point lead in the championship, but could only finish 3rd in the first heat and 2nd in the second. Struig on the Jojo Tanks Honda, who makes things easier for commentators with his little Australian flag, tends to have a slow start, but he's very strong towards the end. Martin would have to keep that in mind. And he was, keeping the gas wide open, trying to open up as large a gap as possible. Fanny de Jong on his Honda found the going tough, while Struig just couldn't shake Brekel and Van der Merwe. In contrast to Struig, Mark Brekel had the reputation of starting strongly but fading towards the end. Would it turn out to be the same in this race? Struig was slowly but surely pulling away from Brekel and Van der Merwe, the two keeping each other very busy and slowing themselves down in the process. Brekel was cleverly but totally legally blocking Van der Merwe's progress. The battle for third between Brekel and Van der Merwe was getting very interesting. Van der Merwe clearly faster, but Brekel a master tactician. But it couldn't last for long, and with Brekel going wide at the bottom of the circuit, Van der Merwe took the inside line and moved into third. Martin was still out front. Struig was second, then Van der Merwe and Brekel, with David Parkinson on his Yamaha Banshee in fifth position. Crowds at Total Super Series 97 events have become used to seeing great riding skills, and they weren't disappointed as Brandon Martin displayed the talent that will take him far in quad racing. 7 laps into the race, and he's not been under any pressure at all. A huge gap to second position, but look at this. Christo van der Merwe has brought his Johannesburg Yamaha Banshee very close to the Jojo Tanks Honda of Jacques Struig, and the championship leader and the young pretender were slogging it out. And behind them, Mark Brekel had David Parkinson hot on his heels. Coming towards the end of the race, Brekel was going to have to draw on all his skills to hold off the charging Yamaha Banshee rider. Quad racing is extremely physical, and only the super fit have any chance of doing well. It seemed as if the energy was also starting to leave Parkinson, who had a 6th and a 3rd in the previous 2 races respectively. Quad racing has developed to a very high level in South Africa, thanks to Total Super Series, and it wasn't difficult to see why, just watching these two fighting for 4th position. At the front, things didn't change, with Brandon Martin pulling out all the stops and lapping some of the back markers. Struig was still holding on to 2nd position, and that's the way they finished, with Van der Merwe holding on to 3rd. Brekel held off Parkinson, while Paul Brekel completed the top 6. Van der Merwe clinched the 1997 Pro Quad Championship.
And that was the easiest of the lot today.
Yeah, wasn't so difficult. I got the whole shot. Bushman seemed not so close to me. Just went on for the rest of the race. Okay.
You just seem to be pulling away.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got a problem with his back or what. Just back's going well.
And just to show how competitive the racing in this category can get, on the last corner of the final lap in the 2nd heat, David Parkinson and Jacques Struig had it coming together. And while Struig could restart to take the checkered flag, Parkinson took a while longer and finished 3rd behind Christo van der Merwe. Van der Merwe took the title, ahead of Struig and Parkinson, setting the scene for a fascinating championship in Total Super Series 98.
Christy, jy is die 1997 kampioen, hoe voel jy?
Ja, Hendrik, op hierdie stadium baie gelukkig. Ek het net gedink ons gaan daar uitkom, jy weet, hierdie tipe ryery is nie eintlik vir my nie. Ek sien ou daar vir die veld. Dit is iets wat ons moes doen, dit is goeie advertensie. En ek moet sê, Johannesburg Yamaha het hulle uitstekend van hulle taak gekwyt om my fiets elke keer vinniger te maak, om goed voor te berei. Ons het nie eintlik een keer gesukkel nie, jy weet, dit was maar klein dingetjies wat fout gegaan het, wat buite ons beheer was. So ek dink ons is almal baie bly om dit gevat het, ja.
So, the final race of the season for the big bangers. And with Paolo Piazzamuso already the champion, his brother Claudio takes the wheel. A bad start by Kasi Coetzee, and that allows Piazzamuso to get closer. They'll have to fight their way through the field, and this is what it looks like from the viewpoint of the Toyota dealer team driver. Bux Carolyn leading in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth, also ahead in the super special category. Then Coetzee in the dealer team Toyota Hilux and Claudio Piazzamuso in the creepy crawly Ford Courier. Carolyn is reveling in the conditions and he's not going to let the two super trucks off the hook easily. They'll have to come and get him. Coetzee knows that Piazzamuso isn't much of a threat either, the Ford driver not seeming to be able to close. When Bux Carolyn gets going, it's very hard to catch him. And on the tight AA Kyalami circuit, getting past him is not going to be easy. The super trucks have the edge on power, but handling and acceleration are the Chenoweth strong points. Down the hill and Carolyn can brake much later, while the lightweight frame of his Chenoweth and the power delivery of his 6-cylinder Porsche engine allow him to get out of the corners much quicker. This situation could allow Piazzamuso to get closer to Coetzee. Up the hill and Carolyn is holding his line. Although they don't race in the same category, Carolyn would dearly like to beat the super trucks. It does seem as if Piazzamuso is closer to Coetzee. Carolyn already has 2 wins under his belt in the super special category, but thoughts of a threat from his class competitors have long gone. He takes the defensive line. That could be a mistake. Coetzee gets out of the right-hander much faster, and down the hill he simply shoots past Carolyn. Coetzee in the lead, and more importantly, he's placed Carolyn between himself and Claudio Piazzamuso. Carolyn gets it very sideways, but Piazzamuso isn't close enough to pounce. A good tactical move by Coetzee in the dealer team Toyota Hilux. Piazzamuso in the creepy crawly Ford Courier has to get past Carolyn in the lubrication equipment Chenoweth, but he doesn't seem to have the power. Richard Leek leading the production vehicle category in his Castrol Toyota Hilux. He finished second in both previous heats. Max Moore in his WPP Wingfoot, second in the super special category, third in heat 1 and second in heat 2. It's a very cramped space to work in, and the mud on the windscreen doesn't make it easier either. Seventh lap, and a huge plume of steam coming from the creepy crawly Ford Courier of Claudio Piazzamuso. Another disaster for the team, following the punctures they suffered in both the previous races. It's turning out to be a weekend they'd rather forget. Leek is still leading the production vehicles. He's being lapped by Carolyn, and Henry Zamatin in his Chev is in the background. The soon-to-be crowned champion is running on only 2 cylinders. Carolyn's still going strong in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth, a long way ahead of Moore in the super special category. Leek is also having a good race, benefiting from Zamatin's problems. Carolyn has a good chance of catching up with Claudio Piazzamuso, who has to deal with a Ford engine rapidly losing its power. And although there's no points for overall position, Carolyn will be very happy to finish second behind the Toyota dealer team Toyota Hilux of Cassie Coetzee. Claudio Piazzamuso is rapidly running out of steam. Radiator fluid is leaking, and this seems terminal. He's pulling off the circuit to limit the damage to the engine, and it's a great pity that the super trucks couldn't have a grand finale to the season. But Cassie Coetzee isn't complaining. This is a master in action, driving a vehicle superbly prepared and maintained by Tony George and his team. Bux Carolyn is also having fun, and if this category can grow next year, spectators are in for a treat. Richard Leek taking the Castrol Toyota Hilux to its first victory of the day. And Cassie Coetzee once again victorious in the dealer team Toyota Hilux and making it 3 in a row for the day. Coetzee missed out on the first half of the season, but once his truck arrived, he showed what it could do. So Coetzee took it from Piazzamuso, who did enough to finish second, while Leek won from Zamatin in the production category, and Carolyn from Moore in the super specials.
Cassie, baie geluk. Dit was redelijk makkelijk vandaag.
Ja, dit was, ek het nie gedink dit gaan so maklik wees nie. Ongelukkig het die oppositie 'n bietjie probleme gehad. Anders sou dit 'n baie goeie tentaniese stryd gewees het tussen ons voertuie.
After 7 events, Paolo Piazzamuso took over the crown in the super truck category from Coetzee, who finished third behind Linton Draper, despite not competing for the full season. In a closely fought championship battle this year, Carolyn took the title from a very consistent defending champion, Wolf-Peter Fumfai.
Formula works fantastically, and I'd just love to see more guys building cars. It is inexpensive, I don't know why we haven't got more guys coming, but I've heard there's 3 cars being built for next year, and it's going to make it more exciting. The more cars on it makes it more spectacular.
Zermatten successfully defended his title, finishing ahead of Leek, with Frank de Cleer third. One can only hope that this category will also grow next year.
In our